Action Park
Media.
Hi, I'm Ethan Suplee. Welcome to American Glutton. Outside of acting, my two favorite things to do are diet and eat. I have a very complicated relationship with food, and on this podcast, we're going to talk about all of it. Food as entertainment, food as sport, food as fuel. I'll talk to experts and the average person, just like you and me.
I hate to ask you to do anything, but if you're enjoying this show, please take a moment to like, subscribe, rate, review, all of the above on whatever app you're getting it from. My guest today is Stavros Halkias, a stand-up comedian and co-host of the popular podcast Cumtown. You can find him on Instagram at StaviBaby2, and you can find his wildly inspirational calendar at stavi.biz. Stavros Halkias, welcome to the American Glutton podcast.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. This is crazy. You have no idea. Like, this would blow, like, from Boy Meets World on year-old me's mind that we're doing this right now.
Really?
The Vader app of Boy Meets World for a plus-size child was huge. You want to talk about representation mattering. That was, like, I talked about that for months.
That's awesome.
Yeah, dude. So I'm fucking pumped. I'm so stoked.
I'm so stoked for you to be here. I strangely feel like we know each other simply because I love your podcast. And
yeah, hell yeah.
I listen to you every week, and I just was like, I heard you talking about a diet the other day, and I was like, holy shit, maybe I could talk to him. That'd be awesome.
Dude. Oh, it didn't take the diet. You could have hit me up at it was the same way because we've DM'd a little bit, and I'm always like, I think we both know each other from like just outside of each other's work. It's like where you feel like you know the guy, but you don't actually know them. So I think both of us were kind of like, don't want to be like an asshole who's like oversteps their bounds, but you could at any time, bro. This could have just been a FaceTime, but I'm happy to do the pod.
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
Yeah, dude.
You honestly are one of the guys, and I think I would say this if I had to make a list of guys who I had some kind of like confidence envy in, you are way up there.
Oh, wow. Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
You're I mean, really, you're everything you do, but your calendar, I mean,
yeah,
it's incredible. And I just go like, look at how happy and free and confident he is. And obviously you're nothing. I don't want to say that we're even comparable to where I was at my heaviest.
Totally. No. Don't feel free, bro. This is we're simpatico here. We've both been we're soldiers in the same fight.
We're at least in the same military.
Yeah, exactly. And also, you're a bigger guy than I'm like, I'm 5'7", like at my biggest, I was like, at my biggest, I was probably like 325.
Really?
So it's like, it's not the same, but it's for height and everything. It's like, similar,
I still, dude, I look at you, I look at guys like Jack Black, anybody who doesn't look like a bikini model or like a male fitness guy and will take their shirt off and like, and not only that, but like, there's absolutely nothing like, I want to cuddle you and snuggle you when I see you laying in the bed, like for real. And I just go like, what did your parents do right?
Yeah, I think, it was a mix of like, any like artist, any like performer, whatever. I feel like it's a mix of like, you get both extremes. You know what I mean? Like you get like my mom. The answer is my mom, right? Like, let's just start there. She is like, you want to talk about like a cute, like chubby Eastern European woman that will like, if you were to come over my house, you do not leave without getting dessert. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what's going on. My favorite story is like, there was one time in high school where my friend was coming to pick me up and we were going to see a movie. And my mom was like, stall her. I was like, what do you mean? She's not coming in. She was just like, no, stall her. And somehow in like 11 minutes, she just had fresh brownies. Like, I don't know what mom magic she used, but she like made us take brownies to go, fresh brownies to go to the movies. It wasn't like she was coming over, my friend. It was like, no, I'm going outside and she's picking me up. Mom was like, I don't care. You're getting her brownies. So it's like, my mom was like so loving, so, and such confidence in her kids where it was like, she thought I was like one of those kids that was going to go to Harvard. You know what I mean? Like, just she was one of these people that's like, oh, can do no wrong. And even when I did comedy, like when I decided, I was like, because I've been doing stand up since I was 19, and it was kind of the thing I always wanted to do. When I kind of told that to her, she's totally supportive now, but at the very beginning, she wasn't supportive because she was like, she almost thought, she was like, well, you're robbing the world of your intellect. Like she thought I was like, you know what I mean? Like the world, I think the world's going to be fine, Mom. You know what I mean? But it's like, so she just so wildly believed in me. I think that was like a big part of it. I felt that way. And then on the other extreme, I have the immigrant dad who it's like, nothing's good at. So it's like you have like the support, and then also you're always trying to prove something to somebody else. You know what I mean? So it was like, it's like that perfect swirl of like, oh, well, I like, attention, I want to go out and get like people's attention. Right. Which, I think performers are, actors, all that. It's a similar, some way. I feel like we all share that kind of, makeup in some way, but for me, in terms of the body image stuff, though, it was like, I don't know, man. It was just always, don't get me wrong. I was young. I was like a pool shirt in the pool type of, you know what I mean? Like it's definitely very young, you know what I mean? Like we're talking like elementary school, but there was something about realizing early on that it was like your personality. Like I won people over by just being funny. Like, even being, very early on, it's sort of, you use being the fat kid is like a bit, you know what I mean? Like it's the self-deprecating stuff. And it's like, and then it just kind of grows. And over time, it's like, well, everyone sort of, everyone kind of likes me, all this kind of stuff. So it's like, I don't have to rely on it as much, but, I think that's where it starts. It's like, oh, I can just like, I can turn whatever a weakness is into like a strength, right? Like what most people would be like ashamed of or whatever. It's like, oh, it's funny when I do a cannonball. Are you kidding me? You can't crush harder than doing a cannonball when you're like a fat 8-year-old. Everyone's like, yeah, and it's like, just
it's
like
disappointing if we don't do it. If we don't do it, we've broken some rule. Yeah,
100%.
I think my mom very much wanted to be. I mean, I think she was that supportive of me and had utter faith in me and belief, and believed so much more for me than I ever believed for myself. But there was a constant like, we got to fix him, and like, look, I'm not going to say I have a host of problems. I would never say it's my parents' fault.
Yeah.
But I do try to figure out like, why did I struggle with this so much? And when I finally like started having solutions that really worked for myself, it was like the opposite of what I was taught. And I happened to be taught my whole life, like time after time, like, well, you have a problem eating this type of food, so we're going to cut this out. And it was every type of food you could imagine. Like processed foods are bad. And then it was like white foods, nothing white, and that includes turkey. Suddenly all that's bad. Like,
And chicken breast is bad.
Chicken breast. And then, well, we were wrong about that. And every manner of fucking hokey test. And we're out here in LA, and they have like legitimate crazy people offering diet advice. And I remember doing like fucking stool samples as a kid, where I'm like, what are you doing? This is crazy. But so when I finally came to it, was like, I want to change. My instinct was, well, let me figure out what's poisoning me. And then I just struggled with that for a long time. So for me, hearing you talk a week or two ago about like, I got to get a meal and I'm only allowed 35 grams of carbs, I was like, I hear you. I more often than not am hearing you talk about Greek food, and I'm salivating, and I'm some real shit. And so that was something else, and I was just super interested in that.
Yeah, well, so I mean, my relationship with food is like, so it's I've done all types of drugs. I've gotten all kinds of fucked up. The only thing I've ever struggled addiction wise is food. Like weed a little bit, but it's not even like, it's not that I even get addicted to it. It's like, it actually, because it's like, it feeds how hungry I get and how much I eat and like all that kind of stuff. So my biggest substance problem has always been food. And, going back to what you said about your parents were always they were looking for something to fix. And it was like, they supported you. With me, it was always like, I think my mom shared that food thing. You know what I mean? So it was like, for her, it was, and she struggled with weight. And I think she had the instinct to shield me from that kind of criticism that she probably dealt with as a kid.
Right.
So it was like, whenever she wanted to get me to lose weight, and there were times in my life, like I've yo-yoed a bunch, right? Like, whenever she did, it was like, it was almost like, well, I know you struggle with this. Let's figure something out that works. Right. And it was like, there were times in my life where I literally would go, I was like a little fat kid in Weight Watchers with my mom,
Right.
like I was like, and it was like, I was like the mascot for me and all these like, chubby ladies. They
I
they
did
loved,
that too.
yeah. And, but it was like, it's true in terms of, it's the thing I love the most, right? Like I can't any way around it. It's like, if you're telling me what is like a treat, right? It's not, and there might, I like to go on the beach, I like to go on the beach. It's like vacation, but it's always like, well, what's the meal we're getting after the beach? It's like, I went to Greece as a kid. It's like, I love hanging out on the beach, but it's like, I love that like fresh calamari that you get right after, right there. And it's like, everything is so intertwined. And even like, when I was a little kid, it was like, my favorite memories were like, I would get to be alone in the like when I was in the kitchen, when I was like, I earned kitchen privileges at like 10, and I'm like 10 years old watching TV by myself, just making these like quadruple deck grilled cheeses. You know what I mean? Like just like going buck wild in the pantry. And so for me to get to any kind of diet thing really is like it really took a really long time, especially off of like the back of like the pandemic, where it's like, I deal with my stress straight up. Again, the same way people fall into their addictions, I fell like face first into it. So currently what I'm doing, actually, which I found out, I'm actually doing the RP stuff, which
I
is,
love those guys. Yeah, I mean, I'm
yeah,
doing that too. Yeah, I love
yeah.
RP.
My little brother told me, because he was like, because when we were like DMing, my brother, who has been the reason I've gotten into shape, it's my little brother. I mean, if you can believe it, I am like I'm like a fat comedian, and my brother's like strength and conditioning coach. So
Really?
it's like, yeah. My brother's the head strength coach at Campanaro Fitness in Maryland. Great place, great gym. Those guys rock too. But it's like, when I told my brother, he was like, "Oh, that's awesome!" Like, because he got me on RP. It was like the kind of thing where, so now it's like this thing. I mean, all your listeners will know about it, but for me, if you had told me that even 4 months ago, I'd be like, there is no chance that I can do this, because it's like pretty regimented. You know how it goes. It's like, you get your carbs and stuff. Everything is like your macros. But the way I got onto the diet is by just, I really almost got the biggest I'd ever gotten during the pandemic, because, everyone says it, but like everyone's like, oh, 2020 was going to be a great year for me, and it's like, it really was going to be an awesome year for me. Like, I had some really like exciting career stuff that was going to happen. I was going to go on an international tour. It was like London, Ireland, Australia. I was going to do some big festivals in the States. Like, I was going to film some stuff. It was like, a lot of stuff that I'd worked for was coming up. And then to just like lose that, and then be forced to be in your home, and then also like the people are telling you like, oh no, you need to order food to sustain the economy. You know what I mean? Like, you're getting a medal of honor for getting nachos 3 times a day. You know what I mean? Like, so I was like, oh, I'm a hero by getting Chinese food all the time. So it was just a perfect, like, like everything was, and being away from people, like there's no like everything like was the perfect storm. And I just got up to like 315, and it was like, I wasn't great, because I had, I'd had a foot injury, and I was like kind of struggling 2019, but I was kind of getting a hold of it. And then just September, I was just like, what am I doing here? Like, I just feel bad. I don't like, I just feel unhealthy. It's never, and kind of to what your point, it hasn't really been a looks thing for me. I got to be honest. Like, I am over that. I kind of like, I also kind of like being fat. You know what I mean? Like I kind of like the vibe that it's just like, it's also who I've been my whole life. It'd be like I don't even have the like, oh, I want to get ripped one time. You know, like a lot of people say that where it's like when you got down, you were like, I wanted to get abs.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't give a fuck about abs. I don't care at all. It's like, for me, it was more just like, well, I'm doing the like Tony Soprano nose breathing every instant that I'm awake. You know what I mean? It's like, I can't, like, I'm looking like season 6 Tony, you know, and I'm a 32-year-old man who's not a mob, who doesn't have the stressors of being a mob boss. You know what I mean? So, in September, I just kind of like, I was like, I can't keep doing this. I got to like do something. And I just like went back to Maryland, worked out with my little brother. I worked out with Nick for a couple weeks, just got like an Airbnb because I just wanted to be totally away from like everything. And it was like, and I just kind of was like, all right, I'm just going to start eating things I know to be healthy. Right. Because it's like, you know, I wasn't ready for a diet, but it was like no more fried shit, but you have some salmon, you have some broccoli, you have some brown rice. I'm not measuring anything, but it's like just this right now is like enough. And I just kind of incrementally tried different stuff. I gave myself a different fitness goal every month at first, where it was like, I'm going to walk 10,000 steps every day. Then it was like, I'm going to do yoga every day. Then it was like, I'm going to walk 20,000 steps this, you know, cause I was kind of too big and unhealthy to like lift yet. So it was like, let's just slowly get my body up to the point where I can do it. And then it was like, all right, we'll do some light body weight exercises. And then to the point where it's, you know, April or whatever. And you know, and then it was like, let me track my calories. And now it's like, all right, now I understand I can do like a regimented thing. I can do RP now. Like I've built my way up to it over 6 months or whatever it's been. And now it's like, I'm lifting. You know, I have my diet going really well. But it's crazy because it's like, just to get here, which is like being in a having like a pretty nice regimented, you know, fat loss plan, it took me 6 months just to be able to wrap my head around it, you know? And I think that's what's tough for a lot of people and what's been tough for me in the past. I mean, I'm really lucky. My brother is a strength conditioning coach, you know, he's been doing like RP and, you know, and I also, you know, I'm a fucking podcaster. Like I have the free time, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not it's like either, you know, work out and go on a long walk and meal prep or just like watch 3 movies and get high. You know what I mean? It's like, I got the time. So like, I'm very lucky, but even with all those like advantages, it was still really fucking hard. And it still took like me just being like, you know, just feeling like my body physically feeling bad, you know?
Let me ask you this, because from I've talked to most of the people, like the heads of RP, and I've had them on the show and I've talked to them about different stuff. And the way you're describing getting to the point of like, okay, now I'm going to start restricting food is actually kind of the way like Dr. Mel, who wrote a whole book on changing habits, and her whole point was like, we don't like, the ideal wouldn't just be like day one you start on a diet and you start restricting food. It's like, let's start changing stuff that's pretty easy to change but leads us into a way of being more responsible for what we're eating, and then eventually get to the point where that's easy or that's less difficult and less stressful, and then we're doing something else.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
So you just like fell into that. Was your brother talking to you about that, or was this just like, I want to make a change?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit my brother, but again, the thing about my family is like my brother's really good in that he is supportive when you want him to be there, but he'll never like, because I mean, the funny thing is he eats more than like you, like gluttony, you know, is that runs in the family. So it's like my brother, you should see this motherfucker on his like cheat days. It's like we'll have a whole meal that I'm like tapped out at, and then he'll just be like, I'm actually just gonna get another entree and then 2 ice cream cones, and I'm like, how the fuck is this like, it's insane. It's really like, I don't know how you're doing it. So, and he is like I mean, he's great at his job, and it's like he understands because he's a very, you know, I think a lot of people that get into like strength and conditioning, they are like, they're just kind of like like freaks of nature on some level. Like they got it. They have the gene. They know how they want to work out. They know how to get in the best shape. But some people, and I got to say that I'm not talking about the RP people. Like I shout out to my boy Alex. Alex Harrison's my coach. They're great about like breaking it down for you. But I have met, because I've tried again, right? Like I'm sure you tried. You had different trainers. A lot of people just don't know how to relate to another human being who has maybe the opposite relationship you do with exercise. Like to them, it's like
this
exercise.
Is all you do. It's so easy.
Yeah, exactly. To them, exercise is what like a cheesesteak is to us. You know what I mean? It's like lat pull downs fill that hole in their soul, right. Where it's like, we need fucking, cheese or whatever. So he was really good about just kind of like, I would tell him what I was thinking and he would just kind of support me. He never really pushed me one direction or another. He probably, honestly, looking back, he probably could have, there's certain things he could have, but I like that he didn't, because it was like, it all just sort of came from me, where it was like, this is what I'm capable of right now. And then when I told him I wanted to, like, because he designs my workouts, my brother, he, Alex does my, like my diet, but my brother, I like, working. It's another excuse to talk to him more and all this kind of stuff. So when I was like, dude, I think I want to start lifting weights for real, he was fucking over the moon. But he would never, I never felt like, oh, I really need to start lifting weights because Nick will love it. It's like he kind of kept that for me, but it's crazy how excited for me. It was like Christmas. He was like, yeah, dude, I'd love to. Yeah. So, I just it really was just like what I was capable of to, Ethan. It was like, I didn't really think about it. It was just like, bro, I want to get here. I can't even imagine it, but like, it was almost like by necessity, let's take it one step at a time, because I really had just gotten, it was just like, I was also depressed. It was just like a lot of stuff was going on. Like my mental health was bad, my, addicted to your phone, all this kind of stuff that was like, so it was just, I had to take it one step at a time. And my brother was there to kind of like guide me where I could. And now I feel good because I used to take a lot more trips down to Baltimore, where we grew up, and my brother lives outside of there now. But now it's like, I've got me and my roommate, we just like rented out the basement in our apartment building and we turned it into a gym, wow. And it's like now I feel like I am self-sufficient in terms of like the exercise stuff, in terms of that. But it took, like I said, dude, it took like 6 months, and like, it was my focus every day. Like there was like, I did some work, like, there was no stand up that's coming back now, and I worked on a couple projects here and there, like trying to write, but like, what I said was like, no, I'm taking this time because when the world comes back, I want to at least have a base level of like feeling good, just, health wise. But
yeah, I think that what I ran into time and time again, and what I talk to a lot of people who run into this, is like waking up one day and experiencing much of what you experience, where you're just like, I can't, this is not it. I want to change. Yeah. And the instinct is like, how do I change as fast as possible?
Yeah, for sure.
And then that, for me, failed every time. And
every single time.
Yeah, and so it took a long time for me to even get to the point where I was like, well, I'm just going to take it much slower and hope for a better outcome because of that. But the anxiety of like, you could do more, you're not doing enough.
Absolutely.
It's taking too long. It's constantly there. It's fucking awesome, dude, that this is how you're doing it, and you're killing it.
Yeah, thanks, dude. I'm trying really. It's just, the thing is though, I am nervous though, right? Because it's like, I've been there before, where it's like, I've been successful before, right? Like college, like one of my favorite memories is like when my brother was still just an undergrad and like starting to understand this stuff, and I was like on break from college. One of the best summer breaks I ever had was me and him just kind of like working out every day, and like, I lost a ton of weight and I was feeling really good. And then like, I just got a girlfriend. I was like 20, and I was like, I got pussy, and I was like, all right, well, I'm done working out. Like, I got the fuck. So it's like, and then I just, yeah. So at that point, that was the goal. Right. And then I was like, okay, this is over. And I just got like, just let myself go again. And then, I was getting into pretty good shape maybe 3 years ago, where I was just like biking a lot, and I was like, okay, this is sustainable. I just feel healthier. And then I had like this big foot injury, and that really set me back. And now it's like, I'm really am just doing it for myself and for my health. So in that sense, I feel confident because I feel like, there aren't really any outside factors, right? Like I'm never going to, no one is going to change like the interest from girls. Like I've learned how to, you also learn like there's a person that wants to fuck every kind of person. so it's like, and I like to, I think I'm the cutest 5'7", 270-pound man in the world, right? I will go to bat
for sure.
So if that's your type, I'm a number one, so I'm not worried about that. So that factor's gone. Really all that matters now is like, and even like, entertainment business wise, it's like, whatever. I'd like to act a little bit more, but I'm also from this position of like comedy where you do everything yourself, where it's like, I'll shoot my own shit. I don't like, it'd be cool to get stuff, but I'll work my way up to it. There's no external factors that like, if I gain acceptance from them, that I'll automatically be like, okay, it's over. Like it's coming from me. But at the same time, my life before the pandemic, like the thing that I was sort of mourning that got me to get like that, because I was so sad, I ballooned up again. That was a really fun life. It was awesome, but it was also incredibly unhealthy, like from every standpoint, not just like weight, but it's like mental health, and like there's no schedules and you're up late and then you might have to wake up early and you're traveling constantly. So I am a little nervous about this, right? Because I'm going back to it. It's just happening. Like starting in August, I'm touring all the time. I'm going to be performing more, and I love it and I'm excited for it. But there is a little part of me that's like, it's going to be a lot harder than like your whole goal in life is to just like feel better. When you start folding in a full-time, again, podcasting is like whatever. I work maybe at this point, like my work is like, all throughout a whole week, it's like 10 hours, right? It's like nothing. So it's like, I have plenty of time. But then when you start folding in all these shows and all this writing and all this, like the logistical bullshit you have to do and I'm like, damn, like, I can do, it's like, I'm going to be able to do, I'm going to figure it out. And again, the slow pace, what you said earlier, it's like, I'm just going to take this slow and whatever. Maybe it's not like, maybe I'm not losing weight at this pace, right? Like, but I just got to keep my diet, but I just got to keep the habits. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous about it,
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense to me. I'm over the past 20 years, not in the past 5, but the 15, where I would take 200 pounds off, and then get a job and somehow put 50 on over the course of a job, which is a couple of months.
Right.
And then over the course of My Name is Earl, I think I gained 100 pounds, which is fucking insane. Crazy, because the whole time I was dieting. I mean, it wasn't insane, like dude. They'd get Friday nights, they'd bring an In-N-Out truck in, and I'm eating the fucking burger without a bun, not taking fries. And even then I'm gaining 100 pounds over a couple of years. So that makes total sense to me. But I think that you can catch, especially if you're doing something the way you're doing it. It sounds to me like, the other thing I like about the slow method or like really plotting out lifestyle change
totally
is you can make lots of mistakes, and those mistakes are not like, you're not in the middle of something so hard that it's impossible to get back on after a mistake.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then to something you said earlier, like I have so much understanding, and I can relate so much to the idea of travel and thinking about, like, context for me is always food.
Yeah, dude.
Wherever,
the airport, how buck wild. Once you get into the airport, it's international waters. You're like, oh my God, I'm gonna need a Toblerone to survive this flight.
Yeah,
I'm going to fucking Seattle. I need a Toblerone and like to stop at the Popeye. I need my nutrition.
Yeah.
God forbid I starve on this 5-hour flight. You
right.
know what I mean?
Yeah. You want to saddle up, and then my kids are like, I try to travel with my kids and say like, we can go anywhere in the world. Obviously not in the last year, but like we've had these plans and we've done it a bunch, and every time they say a country and I'm just associating it with food. It's just, what are we going to eat there?
Right.
And then I go like, sorry guys, the only place I don't want to go is India because I'm not really into their food. Like I don't really care about seeing the Taj Mahal because that's not my deal. Anywhere else we can go.
Right.
But also how I do use cheesesteaks and I do use cheeseburgers and pizza. And then even like I've found a gluten-free pizza, which I was brainwashed into believing would meet my energy better than a regular pizza.
Right.
And I'll fucking eat
it ain't the gluten.
Yeah. I've gotten to a place where the lat pull downs actually do take up that space that I need to fill within me, that and it's the weirdest thing when I think about food now that isn't on my plan. Like maybe I have a moment where my mouth can salivate, but it's also the experience. Like I need to be in a binge watching marathon of a show and have food for 4 hours and have backups and like really poison myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Dude, I totally know what you mean. And I'm in that zone now too. Don't get me wrong. But for me, it's always been so much about momentum where like, again, I couldn't, if you would describe to me what I just had, like I just had for lunch, right? Which was 113 grams of chicken breast, like a handful of cabbage and a handful of spinach and a dressing that I made out of Greek yogurt, 7 milliliters of olive oil, and like shaved garlic, I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking? If you told me, I'd be like, no, I didn't. Like, I don't know what guy that looks like me that you saw in the future eating that, but that's not me.
Right.
Like I again, I couldn't even fathom this even 2 months. Like even the day I started RP, I couldn't have fathomed what my day to day and what my day to day looks like. And I've been I hurt my like forearm, so it's like I've taken the week off of lifting. And no joke, I'm like pissed off. I'm like, damn, I fucking want to go shred my tries, brother. You know what I mean? And it's like, and so I totally am in that. And that's kind of what I'm talking about in terms of my nerves. It's like, bro, I don't recognize the guy that I am and I like it and I'm happier and I'm more mindful and just like I've made so many changes. And that's what I'm talking about. Is like, but at the same time, you tell me like, I can't imagine like stuff I liked. Like, it's like, oh, I can't believe I lived like that. Like, I can't fathom it, but I also know how quickly I could go back. Like, I've been sober too, like this last stretch, because I'm just like, let's do a wellness everything, right?
Yeah.
With the exception of one time where I like went out, I met up with somebody, and you know, I stuck on my diet all day and I just like, I smoked just a little bit of weed, right? Like no big deal. And I was like, it's the end of the night. I got my late night fucking whey and like 35 grams of carbs and 15 grams of fat. I'm going to have I knew exactly what I was going to do. I'm going to make and that's the other fun thing about this is that at the end of the day, you're still got those fat genes, like the fat like inventiveness still exists. So it's like, it's almost like a challenge of like, can you make this delicious? Like, how true to the game are you? Right. Like I've been blowing my brother's minds with like the little hacks that I like, the dressings I make out of just 47 grams Greek yogurt, but that still gives me enough protein for meat. And it's like, I have avocado and I have this like, this like seasoning and this hot sauce. And if I get it just right, it tastes like Caesar dress, like full fat Caesar dressing, it's like fat alchemy that I'm doing out of this stuff. And it's like, I had that. I was like, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to have, I know the brand of whey or the brand of casein that gets extra thick. And if you just put a little bit, it's almost like pudding. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
So I'm going to have my little pudding. I have almond butter that I put over one slice of whole grain, like, this honey oat shit that's like good for you, but also tastes good. And I'm going to slice up just like a thin amount of banana over the top. Right. And it's fully in my macros. I'm not like cheating whatsoever eating that. And I'm like, it's all good. Like, I'll get home, I'll take the Uber back, and I'm like, perfect. I have this meal ready to go. But there was just something about that, like being high and it's 1 a.m. and like I just hooked up with a girl and I'm just like in party mode. I'm like celebration mode, where it's like every night of my life, it's like if I go to a show and then I fuck, it's like I'm eating a whole pizza as my championship trophy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
you need to refuel and be a man.
Yeah. So that was what was in my head. And it's like, and look, I didn't go crazy. Like I felt bad the next day, but it was like, okay, so I ate all of that. And then I had like a couple things of smoked salmon and like a Baby Bell cheese and like, like some fruit or whatever. Right. And I was like, oh, I really went overboard. Right. And it's like, I'm so happy that I'm in a zone where that's considered going overboard, like just a couple healthy fats or whatever. But I was like, but if you had but I didn't think that was like when I left my home, I thought, no, I'm not going to be tempted even a little. Like, so it's just the shit that you don't see, right? Because it's like right now I feel invincible. Right now I'm like, I'm in the like zone where I'm like, yeah, dude, I'll eat my little salads on my off days. Like I know exactly what to do. Casein is that is my dessert. Like I feel it. Right now as I'm talking to you, I can't imagine like going off the rails, but the comedy club that, my favorite, the Stand, right? The club that works me the most. They've always been great to me as soon as I moved to New York, they're just like, I'm tweeting about today. I tweeted like, hey, my vax is kicking in. Like, I'm ready to get back out there. Like, are there any shows I can do? Are there any venues? And the Stand, was just like, come home. Right. And I was like, and what flashed in my head immediately was like, damn, they got that brick oven pizza. They got these awesome chicken wings. They got the artichokes, the fried artichokes with the sauce. And I'm just like, it took 3 seconds of them being like, please come here for me to start thinking about like, I'm already excusing a future cheat meal. You know what I mean? Like I'm not there, but I'm like, well, what if it's late and there's no food and I left my lunch at home and I'm just like already, and I'm like, I'm fucking toast. I'm done. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. I'm sure for me, the key is going to be like preparation to like a crazy degree. Right. Because I just can't, left to my own devices. I know. I have 6 months of really good habits. I have 30 years of the worst ones of all time.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
But I think you're going into it the right way, because there's a version of people who get to the point where you're at and go, I am invincible. Put me in a new situation, put me in a new country, nothing affects me. And then what happens is, you wind up in an airport. They have nothing that fits your plan. Yep. You wind up at the only place, which is like, in Chicago. I went into Chicago once, and the only thing that was open was in the airport was caramel popcorn. Yeah. And I was just like, Jesus, what the fuck do I do?
You can't even get like fried chicken and peel off the skin. It's
nothing.
Like
no popcorn. Deep dish pizza, no hot dogs. It was just popcorn and like candy covered nuts. And I was like, insane. Well, I'm fucked, because this is like a layover. I've got 20 hours of traveling, and now I'm here. I don't have time to leave the airport. I'm fucked. So I like wandered around for a while and then ate some fucking popcorn. And felt shitty, but I wasn't hungry anymore. But I think that in the past has been enough to go like, well, this whole week is now done. I'm gonna land in LA. I know where I'm gonna stop on my way home. I know what I'm gonna have delivered once I get there. I know what I'm eating tomorrow.
Yeah. For breakfast. Dude. Once you let your brain start imagining, you know what I mean? It's like it's over. Yeah. I could tell you right now, like if I was to not think about sticking on like with travel, like I'm probably going to come to LA for like, I'm trying to do some West Coast shows. I'm probably going to come to LA for like maybe a week and a half. And my plan is Airbnb, kitchen, like go shopping as soon as I get there. But if you allowed me to say, what if you couldn't? What if it, and I was like, well, I have 7 restaurants in 35 seconds and what I would order, like how, like, I just got it. I got it ready to go. I know the desserts I'd have. I know just like the friends I'd want to take where. It's just like, it really is, man. You're just, it's hard not to. And it does make me happy, right? Like, that's the hard thing. It's like and part of the ability to put this off is like in my head, I'm like, yeah, this is fine, and I'm gonna try and be healthy, and I want to feel better and everything, but there's gonna be a time where I'm a fat old man, and I'm gonna go out in a blaze of glory.
Yeah.
There will be no worrying about my heart at a certain age. It's gonna be like I'm gonna be like the guy, the grandpa from Little Miss Sunshine, but instead of heroin, it's going to be bacon cheeseburgers at a certain point, where it's like, just take me out, brother. I'm going out the way, doing what I love. So it's like, in a weird way, a part of my mental thought process is like, all right, man, we're just waiting for the one big cheat day, the final cheat day in the sky. You know what I mean? It's like the cheat era. But
I say this to my wife, and I think she thinks I'm kidding, because she like laughs at me and like does this. And I say, like, I never thought I'd make it to the average lifespan of an American male.
Right.
If I make it there, we are celebrating for the rest of my life. With food, dude.
100%. Everything else is it's like you're playing with house money.
Yeah,
it's like I thought we're already a decade over where I thought we'd be. You know what I mean? It's like, I think that's also part of it, right? Because it's like, what age was it for you where you were like, all right, fuck it, let's really like. Yeah, and you also have like a family, right? Like you have like shit to live for, Dude, I got nothing.
Kids all over the country. I have wives. We have crazy, insane bills, and responsibility. I really didn't. I think it was like 22, but I didn't have. There was zero drive in me to do anything other than eat and do drugs.
Dude.
And occasionally go to rehab when the drugs got way too out of hand.
Right.
Until I met this girl, and I was like, oh my God, imagine a fun life with her. That's way cooler than what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I respect that you have come to this on your own so much. I think it's so applaudable.
Well, I'm gonna say I actually like it's kind of but it's kind of what you're talking about, where it's like with like the whole mortality thing, where at a certain point you're like, well, I could just keep doing this and it's fun, but it's like, I'm like 32 is like, I'm not old by any stretch, but I'm not young either, right? Like you're right in the beginning of like, okay, like I don't want to hear anybody who's in their 20s talk about getting old, even when you're 29, and it's like I'm sure there's people in their 50s listening right now that's like, fuck off, but it's like. Over like 32, it's like we're just like, I can see the first like prostate exam in the deep future. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like, and again, it's just purely a health thing. It's like, and it's like I just want to feel good. Like I just don't want to feel bad. Like that's really it. It's like, and because again, it's like the look doesn't bother me, but it was just like I'm just tired of like. Just like weird shit that you wouldn't think about. Just your sleep's not as good. It's like, it all is like worse. Everything just kind of like after a certain point. Cause I do believe like, cause I also struggle with it too. Cause it's like, on some level, I don't know. There's a little bit of like, am I a traitor to the plus size community? You know what I mean? Like there is an element of that where I'm like, don't get me wrong, I will never be a guy that's like 160, like whatever my BMI says I'm supposed to be, that ain't ever fucking happening. And it's like that's one step too far for me. Even me, I'd be like, I would feel weird being a skinny guy, right? Like,
dude, I got skinny for 10 minutes in my life, and it was fucking awful. I hated it. And then it just became like, well, I have to be big. How do I be big and still find, like, it was a whole fucking crazy thing.
Yeah, no, that's great. Like, honestly, that is the model. Like, you really are the like model of like, no, we're staying big. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not ever gonna be a little, because it's like I'm a 5'7" guy that if I was like BMI healthy or whatever, I would be like a fucking thin dude. I'd be in like size 31 jeans. Are you kidding me? I'm still trying to get to the 30s just at any point. So it's like, I'm trying. That's the goal, is just like, I want to feel a little better. I want my penis to work like a charm. You know what I mean? It's like, when I got fat as hell, it was like it's like I could take dick pills and it would be like a coin flip whether my dick would still get hard. You know what I mean? It's like it's like, well, we'll see. I mean, this is like
toss up.
Yeah, it's like, just like you have to put medically dangerous amounts of dick pills in your body to even get anything going, where it's like, all right, let's get to like under 40 waist and like one dick pill works. You know what I mean? Let's just let's get to the point where you can buy them from medical websites, not like some sketchy. I was like buying dick stuff from like some guy that was like, Venmo me and say it's like for lunch. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It was like some guy that worked like a research lab that was stealing like the shit I was putting into my body just to like be like, all right, well, my body should be able to handle this. You know what I mean?
It takes like, everything else. We're gonna throw this at it too.
Yeah. So it's like I really just want to get to the point where it's like, the goal has always been big arms, little titties. That's it. That's all I want, dude. I want to be big. I want that bouncer physique. That's really what I'm going for, is like get some big, because always actually what's funny is in terms of like body dysmorphia or like anything I've ever worried about, actually it's never been getting like skinny or like not being fat. It's always been not being a strong enough fat guy, as funny as that is. You know what I mean? Where it's like, because I was on the football team in high school and I had like these like strong legs, right? Just like, because I was a little kid, I was always a little fat kid and I was always athletic. So I played soccer and it was just like, for whatever reason, I just had like, and just my family is just kind of like thick in the haunches, right? But I just could not, like, my bench was like pathetic and I couldn't do any of it. And I was like embarrassed. And I like, as a result, never like lifted weights and was just like, weak in the upper body basically my whole life. And in a weird way, it's like that is more of a like a body goal for me, and like a almost like a conquering, like that is more important to me than losing weight. Like I swear to God, if I didn't have any health problems at 300 pounds, I really wouldn't give a fuck. As wild as that it sounds, but for me, it's like that actually feels like I'm conquering something else, because I was legitimately ashamed in like high school to be like a fat guy on the football team that couldn't bench. You know what I mean? Like, so in a weird way, this is that like the getting jacked element of it and like the working out. And I love it too. It's like, that gives you a little bit of like I just like the routine, and I also like it's ritual too, right? It's like just feeling like, I don't know, so much of even like even doing drugs or eating food, it's like it really is the ritual of it. And it's like that I do like that about getting healthy, is like it is another ritual. And also reminds me of sports. Like I always loved being on a sports team, and this almost, the camaraderie of it, and like me and my roommate both work out in our gym, and it's like we're both kind of on like these fitness things. And I have my little brother who I check in on, he checks in with me. And then even doing the RP, it feels like, you got like it's just like, it feels like you are replacing these unhealthy rituals with like, okay, I know my little meals that I like, I know my like indulgent, I'm having flank steak today. You know what I mean? Like, it's not chicken breast. It's like, I'm going to marinate a flanks, and it's like, I've earned it, and it's just like, that is like the coolest part of it, is like just trying to, swap the things out, and just like, but at the same time, I don't know, man. It's like,
with like smoking, I think that there's all the studies that like talk about the actual addictive properties of nicotine and how fast you can break those. But the hardest thing to break is like having something in your hand, putting something in your mouth. So like quitting with a toothpick is actually much easier, or chewing gum is much easier than just quitting. I think you're dead on with that. The rituals I used to go through with eating that were special to me in some kind of really macabre way was after a night out, going to the drive-through and then going home and watching TV. And I would think about this all day.
Absolutely. That's it. That was it for me too. It was like coming back from shows, it's like on the East Coast, it's like I'm a big NBA guy. It would be like catch the second half of the late game, you've done a couple shows, and it's like, and it was like fun. Like, oh, am I gonna do halal cart today? Am I gonna do like pizza and wings?
I know New York,
totally.
bro. We go to Joe's Pizza,
or
the halal guys on 55th, or down off of on McDougal, off of Washington Square. There's the late night gyro place too, not gyro, shawarma place.
Mamouche,
Mamouche.
Yeah.
I knew all the late night. When I was out in New York, it would be like, here's what's open at 4 a.m. because
100%
closes later than LA.
Yeah. Totally. And so I know, man. And it's like it's hard because part of me just says that, and it's like I am fighting the urge to just be like, bro, let's like just us going back and forth about like despicable meals that we've, because I could do for 7 hours in a row, and it's like, let's keep it, let's not make someone relapse by listening. Like some guy's gonna be like, that does sound good, and just throw away 8 years of like progress because of the meals we've just described. So but like, yeah, dude, it's hard because it's like, I know it doesn't make me feel good, but it's like, man, is that like just even thinking about it, I'm like, hey, I could do it. It's always that I could do it once. You know what I mean? It's
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
And that was one thing I meant to do. I'm like, all over the place here, but the one thing that I think I've learned, and when when you said that I kind of have like a good attitude towards it, it's just from like failing a ton of times, right? And it's like, I think the one thing that I'm super certain of now is like, it's not even that you can't occasionally like, eat something you like, right? And it's like, especially the longer you're on it, the easier it is to like maintain your momentum, and that like, something is a bump in the road. It's not something that veers you off completely. But the one thing I know is that like, I have to be extra focused when I do any kind of like cheat day or whatever. It's like, I just know that about myself. There is no snapping back easily for me, right? Like, I'm really easy when I'm on it. And it's like, that's been one of the lessons of like, and it's cool to be doing RP because it's like, you have someone to talk to who scientifically knows like, oh yeah, if you were to just take a cheat day, because like, what do you use? Like when you're on your own, you're like, oh, I'm going to eat nothing the day before, and then I'm going to go crazy, and it'll balance out. And then it's like, I talked to Alex, my coach, and he's like, oh yeah, no, that's absolutely the most insane way to go about, right? Like that's the way that like and he didn't say it that way. He said it scientific. He was like, that's a way to increase hunger levels or something. You know what I mean? But it's like, but that's what it is. So it's like, my brothers are coming. It's their 30th birthday. I have twin brothers. Nick is the strength coach, and my brother George is a really good artist. They're coming up for their 30th birthdays to New York. Everyone's vaccinated. Everyone's like coming. So it'll be fun time to actually spend time together. But I know our family, and Nick's already been like, my brother's already planning the meal. Like literally, he's got like an itinerary of where he wants to eat, Right. So it's like, but it's cool to talk to my coach about it and be like, how do I prepare for this where it's like not going to completely fuck me up? And it's just like, you actually eat a little more before the cheat day. Like you actually like go into maintenance first, and then you go back to afterwards. Then you go back to the fat loss, which is completely, I would never have guessed that. I would have never have guessed you eat more before the cheat day, and that way it controls your hunger levels. I would have 100% been like, all right, just going to fucking starve myself for a week before the cheat day. So it's like, that's also part of it, is like, it's also hard because I don't know if you feel this way, but it's like, it really feels like there's no just like, you can't just go to a book and it's like common knowledge what is good for you. Like it really feels like everyone is even guessing, you know what I mean? It's like even there's so much nutrition information that's so contradictory constantly that it's like, even if you really, really want to make a change, there's so many stumbling blocks. And that's why I've really enjoyed just talking to people that have like studied this so much, and like, if they're not nutritionists, they're PhDs in it or whatever. And it's like, because like you can have the best intentions, but it's like you can read one thing that tells you to do, and I'm sure everything I just said, there's like some like diet that says, oh no, you have to starve yourself and then like shock the system or something. So
you have to intermittent fast before every cheat.
Yeah.
When we get into that, I think like for me, and I think this way kind of applied to every facet of life, is like, there are different contexts for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I can only really view the world through the context with I view the world. There's no real way for me to jump out. I can try to see other perspectives and other points of view. I do really try to see that. But at the end of the day, I'm viewing the world through my eyes. And so I can determine what's right for me. But then there's other people who are going like, well, here's what's right. And I can go like, that's awesome. And and like, that's really cool. And I respect what you're saying. And if that's helpful to people, then that's great. It didn't really work so well for me when I tried a version of that. For whatever reason, who knows?
Totally.
And if somebody has had a lot of, but I think, like, to your point, scientifically, I unfortunately, and I fought against this tooth and nail my whole life, looking for what it was outside of me that was responsible for my condition, for my state, and tried to handle my state by just removing those things that could be told to me to be responsible.
Right.
And I gotta just say, at the end of it, it was like, it's not any of that stuff. It's how you're dealing with it. So let's change you, and let's figure out how you can interact with these things. And that's been the only thing that's helpful. So I am super interested in hearing about all manner of different types of ways of doing it. But what you're saying, I relate to the most, which is like, you know, I'm not perfect, and it is counterintuitive because of a lot of shit that I've just watched on TV or in pop culture, to go like, I know, it's my kid's birthday. I'm going to be in New York on this date to go to Carbone, to take her to Carbone because it's her favorite restaurant.
Right.
So I know that the day before that, I'm not withholding calories. I'm actually increasing calories.
Right.
So I'm not going to go to fucking Carbone and not eat like a puss. You know what I mean? Like, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
But like that kind of thing. So I think if somebody has a winning solution, I think it's great. But there is a whole hell of a lot that is being touted as the absolute thing for everyone. And then, like you said, it failed for you a number of times.
Yeah.
Same here.
Totally. And no, you're right too, where it's like, who know, like, you just have to find something that works. And to be honest, there's like, I've told you how I've like yo-yoed and different stuff has worked, and like, I did like a version of like almost like not quite like the Atkins thing, but like I did a more higher fat thing, and that actually for a while that sort of worked for me. And the reason I gained the weight wasn't even because like it did work. There was a time in my life where it did work, and I just went back to my old habits of like just overeating in general. Like I know plenty of people who can go into maintenance with that and everything, but at this point in my life, I can't even imagine doing that. Like, it just like doesn't seem like the right thing. And you're right, everything is so context dependent, and everything is, but but it would just still be nice if there was like, there are 6 different ways of doing. You know what I mean? If there's just like a book that's like, how the fuck do we not know this? Isn't this like science? Like, it's the human body, and it's like gaining and losing weight. Don't we fucking know? Like, don't we know? And even like nutritionists, it's like, I tried to go to nutritionist when I was in at a different attempt, right? That didn't really pan out. She was a lunatic. She was just like, she was insane. And I'm like, can you just tell me, like, what do I need? I just need you to feel like a person that has read a book and knows what to do. And you're just coming at me as like one of the craziest people I've ever met in my life. And it was like, she like made me pay something up front, which should have been like a real red flag. You know what I mean? It's like, what kind of doctor needs like cash payments up front, but it's like, it really, I don't know, man. It's weird to me that it's like, we just don't have like some handbook that's like, here are the advantages to this, and certain body types can do that, and all this kind of shit. It just feels like at this point we would have figured it out, but
I think there's too many people are making too much money.
That's really what it is. Yeah,
like,
totally.
I look at some of the people on YouTube who are like slanging multivitamins and like showing before and after pics, and I'm just like, and I've even had people ask me to sell multivitamins, and I'm like, I've said too many times I don't take vitamins. Like there's too much evidence that this is bullshit. I talk about my wife being like a fucking retail vitamin shopping addict, and then they just rot in the cupboard, and like every couple of months we have to buy a whole new batch, and I don't take them. Why would I tell people I do? But like there's a lot of money. I think there's a lot of money in telling people, you know, I had a nutritionist who was completely insane too, tell me just chicken. That's it. If you but not just eat chicken, just don't eat chicken. If you just excise chicken from your diet, you'll be fine. You'll lose all the weight you want. You'll be the healthiest guy ever. Crazy. And I was like 450 pounds at the time, and I was like, okay, you know.
Yeah, no, you're right, because it's like there's so many factors. I mean, it's like people tie so much of their like self-worth in like looks, and then so much of what looks good, you know, you're taught to think is not being fat, and it's like, and then it's also health. So it's like, it really is like perfect for taking advantage of people, because it's so emotional, and it's so like, and the stakes are so high for so many people that you're right. I mean, it's just money, and there's probably the way, like, you know, there probably could be some kind of like just study that is like public knowledge, but it's like there's too much like weird money making sure that never happens, you know, because there's nothing easy. Like both of us have probably been, both of us have been at a point in our lives where somebody was like, just give me $10,000 and you'll never have to worry about gaining weight again. I'd be like, yeah, let me strip my home for copper wiring. I will, whatever is going on, I will get that money no matter how broke I am, to never have to worry about this. So yeah, I mean, you're totally right. But
I have even this lasting belief that they will simultaneously come out with like the CRISPR gene splicing thing, and like edit in a wig for me and a hair growing back thing, and then I'll be like a real Superman. You know what I mean? Like I'm totally convinced this will happen one day.
Yeah, I know. It's like, and you know, who knows? Maybe it will. I also feel like it'll probably just happen for like wildly rich people. Like I think we're just getting to that point where it's like, just one day Jeff Bezos comes out with a full head of hair, never explains it. You know what I mean? It's like, wait, what the fuck? It's
right. Well, we know for sure they haven't done it yet. If he does
exactly.
He will be the barometer on that. They figured it out. We're gonna get it in 50 years.
Yeah. Too many super rich people look like dog shit for them to have figured any of that stuff out yet, for sure.
Yeah. I wanted to say before we end one more thing to a point you made, and I'm fucking blanking on what it was. Shit. Well, maybe I don't have to.
If you remember, it's all good.
Yeah.
I want to shout out there was two. I want also to let you know that it's like that. It is really funny that, I mean, not funny. It sucks because like you had so many struggles with your self-image, but it's like truly you were like a big, like, it was cool to see you like just be awesome and stuff, and you were like a big boy up there, and it was like, it's funny that you had like so little of that like self-confidence, because I really feel like for like fat kids and just like fat dudes who were watching, like it was fucking, you were like, you're on that Mount Rushmore of guys my age, of fat kids my age, of like, hell yeah, it's like you, Jonah Hill, you know what I mean? Of like, there were just like moments where I was like the Vader moment for sure. And I was also a big My Name Is Earl head. Yeah. And there was like, when I'm telling you, like those where I was allowed in the kitchen to just like go buck wild, one of the shows was definitely My Name Is Earl. And a big moment was when you fucked the hot maid on My Name Is Earl. I was just like, hell yeah, dude. It was like, this is for all of us. It was like, your character was like good at fucking, I remember, was like the joke, but I was like, I don't care. I'm like, literally, I don't remember anything else about My Name Is Earl. Like, I enjoyed the show. Yeah. That episode where you get to fuck the hot maid, I was like, nice, dude. Hell yeah. That's seared into my brain.
That is exactly what I wanted to talk about. There was something when and the BMI has always been a thing for me, because even when I was really approaching the skinniest I got, I went to see a sports medicine doctor, and the first thing he said to me was like, you're 240 pounds. I was 240 at the time, just riding cardio, 8 hours of cardio a day.
Yeah.
And he was like, you got a lot more weight to lose. And I was like, fuck, really, a lot more.
Brutal.
And he goes, yes, I can I can tell you right now, we're going to do a DEXA scan and I'm going to tell you what your body fat percentage is, and you got a lot more. Cut to, I come back into his office and he was like, actually, I was totally wrong.
Wow.
You have very low body fat percentage, but you're still real high on the BMI. But because of your skeletal build and this and that, we're not going to tell you you have to go on an extreme diet anymore. And that was a bit of a relief. I still lost about 30 pounds.
Wow.
Trying to chase that BMI. But for me, it would have been 185 to get to what the BMI says is a norm. I'm almost 100 pounds heavier than that right now.
You losing 100 pounds would be wild. Yeah.
It's just not,
it doesn't mean shit for sure.
Yeah. I go, fuck, who cares? I'll never be happy doing that. I'll be miserable.
Totally. And it's such a weird, like, it feels just like some guy made it up real fast. You know what I mean? It's like, doesn't like height. I mean, I know height, I guess, means something, but yeah. And that's why, honestly, I feel good that it's not, I am lucky that I'm not trying to like really chase a number. I'm not really trying to chase like, you know, like I weigh 270 now. And it's like it would be like in February or in September when I was like, fuck, I got to do something. I weighed 315, right? So it's like I'm 50, you know, 5 pounds away from 50 pounds. It's a nice accomplishment. It feels good. But at the same time, it's like, I don't care what my BMI is. I don't really need to hit a round number. I don't care to get to 200 or something like that. I just want to like, you know, just again, get jacked, you know, get some big arms, you know. The ideal look would be like big arms, like no titties, and just like a little stomach, you know, just to keep it around. Like I can't have it completely gone. So yeah, because so much of it is just, again, they don't know shit. It's like bullshit. It's like as long as you're feeling healthy, and like I've been very lucky that like all my you know, blood work and all that stuff is healthy. Don't have it, you know, my blood sugar, all that. I just got, you know, it's like I feel, but it also feels like on some level, the way I was living, it's like, it's a matter of time, right? It's like where if I'm going to get that fucked up and eat that much bullshit, it's like, you know, it's just going to happen. You know, you're going to start getting unhealthy at some point. So yeah, for me, it's, I'll never, you know, in fact, the higher my BMI could be and the healthier I could be, that would make me feel, the dumber I make, you know, science look, the better I'd feel. You know what I mean? Like,
I get into a weird thing. Like, I think when you talked about comfort, for me, that's something I utterly relate to. And that was something that I couldn't even recognize it first until I got a little bit of distance from it, and I could really understand how constantly uncomfortable I was.
Yeah.
And that kind of made it easy for me to do really crash diets because I was used to being uncomfortable.
That's a great point. Yeah. You always feel like shit, but so it's like, what's a different kind of feeling like shit? And yeah, it's like, that is the lasting thing of just truly from, like if nothing else, if no other goal is out there, the goal is to feel good, like in every sense, right? In my life, like it's kind of been pared down to that, where it's like, I want to work on things that make me feel good. You know what I mean? I want to be around people that make me feel good. I want to wake up feeling good. And it's like, like I just was not feeling good at that weight. And honestly, when I start feeling just good and I don't feel like, you know, no aches and pains, none of, you know, shortness of breath, I'll probably just I'll start eating for maintenance at that point and just try and get to a thing. But it's like, you know, we all have these like really, really like complicated goals, and there's like 5-year plans and all this stuff. But sometimes I just like pare it down to just like, I just want to have a good time and like feel good while I do it. And it's like, not the good times like I used to have where it's like, yeah, I'm going to be fucking hungover for 2 days afterwards. Or like, I'm going to be like worried, like, oh fuck, I like, what pill was that? You know what I mean? Like, am I like, why am I having this side effect? Why am I hot? Why are my ears hot right now? You know what I mean? It's like, just overall feel good. And, yeah, being healthier is just kind of part of it. And
I have health as a goal now more than I ever did. But like, I really have to be honest. I only don't smoke cigarettes now because when my wife was pregnant 2 kids ago, who that kid is now 16, but we have 2 other kids who are even older. So 16 years ago, you know, women, when they get pregnant, a lot of stuff is happening, and there's no telling like what they're going to want to eat and what's going to be offensive to their nostrils, and all of this changes every time. And so she gets pregnant, and she wakes up one day and goes like, "Oh, you can't smoke anymore." And I'm like, "Oh, right. So while you're pregnant, I'm not allowed to smoke." And she goes, "No. I smelled that. It made me nauseous and disgusted with you. You're done smoking for good." And I was just kind of like, that wasn't the deal. Like, I understand, like, I'm not allowed to smoke around you. I got to wash my hands and get breath mints and stuff like that. But she was like, "No, it's done." I think I would for sure smoke today. And then I say, like, if it was real, if I developed emphysema, I'd probably quit. If I had a severe hacking cough, I'd probably quit. Yeah. But if I was smoking and it was just like, we know that's not healthy, I probably wouldn't care so much.
Right.
So the absolutes of health, I don't know that that's the best. It's never been such a thing for me. And I say that, well, now today I am kind of focused on it. Like I've gotten into a groove where I can go like, I can get healthier. So how am I going to do that? What am I going to do? And I also am much older than I was. My oldest daughter's engaged and shopping around for OGBYNs right now, which is real crazy. I could wake up a fucking grandfather.
That is wild. Yeah.
And so like I go like, well, okay, we're gonna have little babies in our life. It's been 16 years.
Wow.
So all of those things, I struggle with trying to sell people on being healthier, because who the fuck knows what people want.
Yeah, no, and it's true. I mean, it's like I said, I understand that I'm also like the weirdest. Like it's very like when I was in college, the only reason I lost weight was to get attention from women, and then it's like I figured out how to do that in other ways, and it was just like, oh, great, I love being fat. Like it's not, I don't care. It's like even like in therapy, my therapist was like, you understand, like most people don't get to be this fat and get to have a like this good of a dating life. And he was like, you need, it has to come from you, because it's like you're just gonna like you that thing where it's like, oh, if I'm going to have sex ever again, I have to lose, like, you know, because I got to that point where it's like, you know, shout out to some of the real ones that were fucking me at 320. Like, yeah, what's up? If you know, my dick works a little better now, so hit me up if you're listening to the American Glutton podcast. But you're right, it's different things are for different people, and it's like, you're right. There's plenty of fat people that are healthier than a lot of my fucking friends. You know what I mean? Who are like, that's totally part of it. And but I think really, dude, for me, and I think it is just a base thing. It's like, what makes you feel good? That's really it. That's really it. And it's like right now, I feel good. Like I really was waking up, and it was like, it's like you wake up from a full night's rest and you still feel like shit. It's like, what the fuck? Like your body needs to recover from just being you. Like you're just hungover from being you. Like you didn't do anything bad. It's just, that's how fat you are, that you need a couple days to just have a good day. So that's it, man. It was like, it's and we'll see. I mean, I am sort of excited. That's the other thing. I'm nervous about it, right? I'm nervous about getting back to life. And it's not just the weight loss thing. It's like, I don't know, man, this shit with everyone, I feel like, who knows how people responded to a year inside, like, and like being so uncertain and being away from so many loved ones, and just like so many things that go so against basic human nature. It's like, part of me feels like I went insane. You know what I mean? Like it broke my brain on some level. And it's like, I'm excited to get back to it, but it's also weird because it's like I feel like a completely different person in 1 year. Like I feel like a totally different guy, and so I'm excited. I want like these changes to keep going, because I also think, like, you know, I was living the kind of life where it's like I had these goals. I really wanted to, like, you know, I really wanted to achieve certain things in comedy, and I wanted to like do these certain things, and it always felt like I mean, it's not as cutthroat, really. I feel like as like acting is like, it's not as like, dependent on opportunities. At least with stand up, it's like, oh, I can always go and do stand up, but I can always be working on stuff. And it's like, but it was also always the kind of thing where it's like, I feel like I can't fall behind, right? Like, I feel like if I lose the momentum I have now, it'll never happen for me ever again. And this year sort of forced you to, like, everyone kind of fell behind. And it's like, so if you were just worried about competition, it's like you're tied, right? Like no one moved forward. But at the same time, I also just got a year and I was like, well, what if I fell behind? Like, who gives a fuck? I've lived a year without this shit. And yeah, nobody else got it, but I don't really get, at the end of the day, I don't really care that much. And it's like, so what do I actually want? And it's like, so I'm kind of excited to kind of go back and see if because I also understand, like, this level, this is unsustainable too. Just staying in your house, working out all the time. And like, but I'm excited to like meld the two together and see if I can't come up with like, well, what can I be chipping away at my goals and working on them in a way that makes me feel good, while at the same time just worrying about the basic shit of just feeling good, being around people, making time for the people you really care about. It's like, so, I'm interested.
I think we're going to be for people who have taken the road you're taking, which I think a fair number have. I suspect probably more have gone the other way.
Yeah. I mean, I did the first half for sure.
Yeah, I think it hasn't been easy because had I not been well into what I'm doing, I would have just gone like, they're telling me to order food and watch TV.
Yeah.
I am going to do
exactly.
it.
Exactly.
But I think hopefully with the way the world reopens or whatever that means, it will be gradual enough that you can maintain and as you're maintaining, figure out, well, this is how I do this now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is how I get around that.
Yeah. Well, and it's even, I guess the thing that I'm sort of excited about is like, what if it doesn't, right? Because like the world and like this are like, your job and like society and all this shit, it's like it really doesn't like promote like worrying about yourself and worrying about the basic shit of just like taking time for yourself. It's like it is like this kind of like I'm kind of excited to be like, well, fuck it, like maybe I won't work as like hard at like certain things, but it's like I guess I'm just like I'm hopeful that like and again, I'm very lucky, right? Again, it's like I get to make my money off a podcast. I get to make money off comedy. It's like I had to work real day jobs where I actually earned a fucking living. And this would be a much different conversation. It would be like, fuck, I just have to figure it out. Right. But for me, it's like, because I'm so lucky that I get to make these choices, it's like, spend some of that time on just like myself, or just like feel not just myself, but just like the shit that basically like feeling good, health. Like don't sacrifice health. And if like, and I'm hoping like, maybe that happens in the future for a lot of people who have that opportunity. Cause I feel like the more free time I got and the more like freedom I got, which is always what I wanted, like to work in like I was never a good like authority, kind of never good at taking fired from every job I've ever had. You know what I mean? I don't know. The more freedom I got, instead of being like, cool, I get to like go visit my mom and like I get to like eat well and exercise, it actually became like, okay, now what if I do another show this day? It's like, what if I travel again here? What if I like, instead of just like, instead of in a weekend, I hit one city and stay there. What if I tack on Thursday and Sunday? And then it's like, and I leave at 4, I take the red eye home, and it's like, oh, all this is technically possible. I guess I just like want to stop thinking about what's technically possible and like what can get done while also maintaining all the shit that's important to me, whether that's communicating with like my family, whether that's exercising, just that kind of stuff, so it's exciting. And it's like, hopefully I do it. It's not like we talk again in like 3 months and I'm just fucking addicted to heroin. And I'm like, yeah, that shit's actually, I'm done with that bullshit. Actually, I've got a harem. Yeah. I'm actually into polyamory now, and I have my own commune where I'm just getting fucked up, and
they're just feeding you all the time.
Just big titted women are feeding me chocolate mousse. moose all the time. That's you know what? Just saying that, I actually think I'm gonna shoot for that now. Never mind. I take back the last hour of everything I said, and that's my new life goal: is harem with chocolate mousse getting fed to me.
Yeah, that is awesome. Well, Stavros, can we check in a few months?
I'd love to, bro. Yeah, let's do it. That would be great. That'd be great, because it's also like, all right, I can't let the people, the gluttons down. I gotta be on my shit a little bit.
Awesome. They'll love it.
I'd love to check in for sure, bro. Yeah, and actually, I might be in LA in August, so maybe we can even do it like in
we can do live. Yeah, let's do that.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Awesome.
Hell yeah, dude.
Awesome, man. Well,
awesome,
thank you so much. This has been an amazing conversation.
Of course. I had a blast. Yeah. Man.
All right. Well, I will for sure talk to you in August. I'm sure I'll talk to you before that, but It will be official.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome, man. See ya.
All right. Take it easy, bro.
Right.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
And now for the Q&A.
This is a question from Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Paul says, I've gone from 350 pounds to 180 pounds and currently back at 250-ish.
Okay.
I've not stopped putting in the work at the gym, but how do you get back into the nutrition portion? It's like I eat clean all day and then bam, biggity bam, I trip and fall into half a fifth of whiskey and the munchie demons come out. How did you get back into it when you had fallen from your attempts?
Great question, Paul. And I've fallen many times. I fully empathize with you and your plight. I really had to sit down and look at all the areas that derailed me from my goal and really start to take some of the behaviors out that contributed to these failures. I stopped eating while watching television. I stopped asking my wife or kids to grab me something simply because I wanted to get that extra movement so I was slightly less sedentary. These are just examples. I'm not saying you have to do any of this, but I will say from your question and I don't know anything about you other than what you put in your question, I would say maybe think about not hitting that bottle, because it sounds like the problem starts there. I'm not telling you have to be a sober person, but if you are having success all day and then drinking a portion of a fifth of whiskey and then going off your diet, what happens if you don't drink that whiskey? Do you not go off your diet? That's my instinct. And this is how I kind of have rearranged my life. I went, where do I keep stumbling? Okay, I'm going to go many steps back from where I actually stumble, and I'm never going to even approach that stumble, because it doesn't actually take me causing great hardship to my life in order to avoid the point where I stumble. That's my suggestion to you, or anybody else who is having trouble maintaining something. Figure out the thing that is causing you to get knocked off track. Get rid of that thing. Excise that from your life. Build a workaround. Whatever you have to do. If you are at work and you get too hungry and somebody is bringing in a box of donuts in the afternoon and you wind up eating the donuts because you're starving and at that point you can't make a rational decision, bring some food to work so you don't get starving. That is a total just hypothetical thing, but I'm saying like you can safeguard yourself against these points at which we fail. Thank you for the question. If you have a question that you would like me to answer on this podcast, please submit it to AmericanGlutton.net.
Thanks for listening to this episode of American Glutton. I'm Ethan Suplee, and as always, joined by my chaperone, Paige Dorian. Follow us on Instagram at American Glutton Podcast. Sincerely.